This podcast is a member of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts and content creators, visit bio.link/Red5.
Greetings. This is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm about to have a ConverSWation. Master Plo, have you heard of this ConverSWation?
Yes, Koto Ya, Obi-Wan. You're listening to Star Wars ConverSWations here, indeed. The Force is strong with them.
Oh, I agree, Master Plo. The Force is very strong with these ConverSWations. This is the ConverSWation you're looking for. I like to say that. ConverSWation. Now I can't stop. All right. May the Force be with you. Listen on.
ConverSWations. It's a translation to a Star Wars nation. It's a celebration.
Hello, and welcome to ConverSWations. I'm Charles.
And I'm Pat, and this is episode 138, The Light Side and the Dark, the good and the bad. Throughout the galaxy, different cultures have had their quarrels. Jawas versus droids.
Ding, ding, ding! Let's fight!
Round one. Yes.
It's been a while. It's been a while
has
since
been
we've
a
had
while.
any verses.
Yes.
There's good reason for that, of course.
Yes, there's probably very good reason for that. But we don't heed warnings around here.
No. That's what we have Chop for.
Yes, but you know what we do heed?
What?
Ewok it backs.
Oh. Okay, we'll go with that first. All right.
Listen, pal. It's not my fault you put up the wrong graphic and screwed up our Twitter following.
Okay. Well, following. Nice. That'd be nice. So, yes, okay, we have an Ewok it back. We'll kick it off with that. It's me. It was my fault. Well, first of all, let's acknowledge I was so proud of my little Lego setup, and I sent a picture to Pat and said, "Isn't this going to be so cool?" And he said, "But that's not an A-wing for the A-wing episode."
It is cool, but it's not an A-wing.
Not an A-wing. Now, to my defense, well, I don't think I can call it my defense. Let's be real.
You know, let's be adults about this, because when I've had to Ewok it back, I did it with dignity, without excuses, and with malcontent in my heart.
Okay, let me take the malcontent in my heart angle. Yeah, so now the picture that I used for our most previous episode 137, the Shipyard's A-Wing, was not an A-Wing, in fact. It was
Correct.
an
It was a
ETC model.
Correct.
Yeah, which, now when you said that to me in text, I said, yeah, but it's still built by the Kuat system.
So
right?
is the Star Destroyer. If you listen to our episode 137.
So that wasn't good enough. Now, your reply to that was, meh.
Right.
Simple. MEH. And I knew at this point, it's like, well, that probably wasn't the right decision. But it's already published. It's out there. It was a cool shot, but ultimately it was wrong. So, yes, I screwed up on the actual ship model. And beyond Pat's dismay, we also raised the ire of one of our followers, and actual fact, one of our fellow Red 5 Network founding members as well. And it's with great regret and with great apology that we I say, I'm sorry, Todd, it was not the A-Wing. Todd at WSTR, Galactic Public Access podcast. It's my fault. I take responsibility. Wrong artwork, wrong ship.
Okay, now give him his yub nub.
And to you, I give a yub nub. Only one, even though he's got big T and little t, and but we're not doing. Well, he did mention it from. Okay, a yub nub for WSTR and a yub nub for Big T and Little T. Okay, 2 yub nubs. Wow, 2 yub nubs
right.
for one mistake. For
What
one
a
walk it
screw
back.
up.
Whew. Okay. Are we done with that? Can we move on, please? All right. All right.
So, with that being said,
Ding ding! You are going down because I am on the side of the droids.
you know, say what you want about the droids, but they did end up in the custody of the Jawas. And there's a reason, and you will find that out shortly.
What do you mean find it out shortly? They're a bunch of thieving little bastards.
Yeah, they are. And don't you forget it. All right, so Jawas, as we know, are native to Tatooine, and any who migrated away were referred to as off-world Jawas. So, as you said, they had a reputation for being swindlers and tricksters. They would, quote-unquote, find or borrow droids or parts in an effort to hastily refurbish them and turn a profit. Arnold would be so proud. They would scavenge scraps from pod race crashes and crash vehicles in hopes of discovering something valuable for sale or barter. Okay. So they travel around in vessels from defunct mining companies as they comb the desert for scraps, droids, and equipment. Okay. They lived and worked aboard the sandcrawlers with cargo bays for their finds and workshops to tinker and fix, quote unquote, droids and equipment prior to offloading them at markets or as hooded little door-to-door salesmen.
Cheap wares. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. It's like the Cutco knives of robots.
Ronco.
Ronco.
I'm a child of the 80s. What do you expect?
No, only Ronco when they were during the Solo era.
Oh.
You follow me to Ron Howard. Oh, man. Good old Opie. Anyway, so a trick of the trade was to hide out and surprise droids with ion blasters to stun and capture them. They would implement restraining bolts to limit droids' functions, contain them to certain areas, and disable them at the push of a button.
Yeah.
So, their ion blasters would act as stun guns toward organics, but completely disable and power down droids, as seen when they captured R2 on Tatooine. These handcrafted weapons were customized with parts from starships' ion engines. Typically, they provide an accurate target range of around 12 meters. That's the distance of 6 Womp Rats for those keeping track.
Or 15 times their height. Yeah, okay.
Now, why you gotta bring that into it?
Well, it's just facts.
Yeah, at least they're taller than pit droids. Some of them.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So, given the wide variety of droids throughout the galaxy, these weapons and tactics varied significantly depending on the droid the Jawas were capturing. Okay? These opportunistic ne'er-do-wells were known to take advantage of locals by stripping their evaporators and other machinery and selling them back to them at a bargain, no doubt. In the desolate wastelands of the desert, the Force customers didn't have much of a choice, even when it came to mind tricks, as a wandering Jedi Kenobi discovered and became an apprehensive client to Tika, who ultimately sold him evaporator parts as well as a model of a T-16, which was later gifted to a young Luke Skywalker. Okay.
So weren't those things that like resold to the very person who sold it to the Jawa to begin with? Okay, just making sure. Go ahead. Continue.
So the Jawas' history of scavenging allowed them to make short order of any stripping and scavenging of ships or equipment so quickly that they stripped almost all of the Razor Crest, whilst Din Djarin was attempting to recover and return the asset/child to the client. He was not able to best the furry creatures based on skill and strength alone, as he chased their clan and scaled the crawler in an attempt to take the parts back. They stunned him and eventually struck a deal to return his parts in exchange for a Mudhorn egg. So he only got what he wanted because he struck a deal with them and they allowed him to get his stuff back.
Suga!
Only then was his attempt to retrieve the Razor Crest parts successful. And he's a pretty any badass Mandalorian bounty hunter, and even he couldn't best them. So their tactics and their sneakiness and their weaponry are sound in their superiority to the droids.
Well, personally, I can't abide by these creatures, and they're disgusting. So, so that's your sales pitch for the Jawas?
Mm-hmm.
Thieving, conniving, con artists?
Okay, hey, it's not. We're not taking the morality high road here. Okay, it's about who's gonna win.
True.
In a
Okay.
head-to-head, who's gonna win? I mean, if you take cheap shots and you're allowed to take cheap shots, you might win. I don't know. I don't make the rules.
I would really like to know how many of these Jawas would have preferred to be off-world, because they are just a bunch of scum-ridden flea bags. And how would they have funded these off-world adventures? Like a bunch of Lola droids maybe being stolen? Who knows? I don't know. I can't quantify that. But let's start with the obvious.
But you're also proving my point, though, because you're like, if they're stealing Lola droids and turning a profit, then they're winning and beating the droids.
Yeah, being thieves. I mean, that's fantastic.
So what? Oh, please. Like droids have the moral high ground.
Well, yeah, they don't really. But let's just so their homeworld is Tatooine, as you have so eloquently said.
I have, yes.
Which is convenient because they're both coarse, rough, and irritating. So I think that's absolutely a perfect match. But let's put aside the fact that they are all of those negative things we've already talked about. They have varied eye colors, don't they? Like there's a variety of eye colors they have, right?
Yes. I don't understand what this has to do with them being superior to droids, though.
Well, the eye colors can range from yellow, orange, and red.
Correct.
Those are all pretty much warning colors. Stay away from them, essentially is what I'm saying. Because why? They use restraining bolts. They steal creatures. They resell garbage. They do. They are Space Temu, okay? That's what they are.
Space Temu. I'll allow it.
So, look, they're furry creatures, which, of course, we saw in The Mandalorian, which you so eloquently referenced several times in your little diatribe there, which makes them basically, they're a bunch of opportunistic walking throw rugs is what they are. And if you want to put it in relation to, let's say, Rob from the Jedi Temple, you could use each one of these guys as like a mitt for the winter. That's how small and insignificant these little things are. Aside from that, they are fluent in 2 languages, apparently. You've got Jawa'ese.
Right, yeah.
And Jawa trade talk.
Right.
Which they use, to barter and stuff for all their ill-begotten gains. And I'd just like to highlight the fact that one of these languages, or both of them, are likely just called con artists, because that's all they are. They're even selling, like you even said yourself, they're reselling Obi-Wan his own merchandise at a higher price.
Okay, did they profit?
That's not the point. That's not the point at all.
Well, my friend, that is where you're wrong.
Okay. I'll give you that. All right.
I still haven't heard any positive mention of the droids, which speaks to the flimsiness of your argument.
Well, droids, they're built with innocent purpose. They're brought in.
Wait, so your whole basis is droids are innocent. They only do what people tell them to do?
Because they're programmed that way.
Programmed to do?
They are brought into existence to make life better for someone or something else. What more innocent purpose is that?
Okay, but in a head-to-head, innocence means nothing.
No, it doesn't, because what were you going to do with us? Steal us, scrap us, slap a restrictor bolt on us? That's all you do, you bunch of jerks!
Yes! It's effective! Besides, this one speaks bocce. That's an extra 10 credits for that one.
Well, that's true. I mean, I got to give you that. But I would say that the most important family in the entire Skywalker saga is the Skywalker family, right? Of which
Uh-huh.
we saw in A New Hope, right? I
Right.
really do hope that R5D4 sacrificed himself in A New Hope, as opposed to the shoddy quote-unquote repair job the Jawas did with him, because they took some cheap piece of motivator and slapped it in there and tried to pawn it off as a working droid for their farm and didn't do squat.
Okay, so I can't believe how misguided you are on your approach to this. I thought you were going to take an approach that actually could win, but I'm fine. If your argument is that throughout the Skywalker saga, the most important people are the Skywalkers, how did the droids get to them in the first place? The Jawas.
Because they stole them from the desert.
Doesn't
Yes.
matter. Doesn't matter how it happened. Fate intervened, and R2's going through the Raiders of the Lost Ark Valley there, and little Jawa comes and pew pew, bang, got him. That's it. You're welcome. You're welcome, Skywalkers. Brought him right to your doorstep.
As if Luke wouldn't have found him on his way to Tashi Station.
He wouldn't have. He was off by Beggar's Canyon. So, I mean, if you're talking about pushing the story, forward and developing the plot line, then it's still the Jawas that are responsible for it. You think R2's going to find his way to old Ben Kenobi, who's living off grid at this point, cutting like space salmon and giving it to his Opie? Come on. There's no way. There's no way he's finding Obi-Wan, because anybody he talks to is going to be like, who, Kenobi? All I know is just Ben. And he's that old wizard that lives beyond the Dune Sea. But, like, where beyond the Dune Sea? Nobody knows.
So
He
you
wouldn't have
think
found him
that
by himself.
you
The only
think
way
that
he knew is because Obi-Wan kept an eye on Luke, so Owen knew where he was. And that's how Luke knew. And then that's how the droids found out, because the Jawas brought the droids to the dude.
you sound like a navigation map rerouting itself 5 times in a row to make that story work for you. Look, I'm talking about a
Recalculating.
species
Recalculating.
recalculating and never getting to their end destination, because these Jawas are simply just the vermin of Tatooine, whereas you're glomping in all the droids across the galaxy, across the entirety of the history of Star Wars, with the benevolent use of each of these droids fitting a specific task to make everyone's life better, as opposed to these
Exactly.
little
And they're offering these droids with these capabilities to potential customers.
right after they've been stolen by these little like furry potato sacks. Are you kidding me?
Meh. Furry potato sacks. So
Look, okay, go ahead.
I fail to see how this is a compelling argument to explain why droids beat Jawas. I don't think they do. And I don't think you've proven otherwise.
Well, look,
My
I would
opening
say that
statement was pretty telling about the Jawa superiority to the droids.
about thievery, about conniving, about being con artists, about being underhanded profiteers. Sure.
If it works for the U.S. government, it's good enough for the Jawas.
And Hondo.
Well, of course it is. He's at Senate meetings taking notes. Yes.
This is very
okay.
good.
Brilliant.
I can say that hundreds of droid manufacturers built models of droids to cover virtually every task any sentient being could require across the galaxy.
Except
thievery, because we already have a species that has that well in hand, and they're called Jawas.
Okay, so what about the task of beating Jawas? No, it's not in their programming? Okay.
Not if it's not modified from the original purpose.
Oh my gosh, here we go. Aftermarket parts. Okay.
You should know that very well, because that's all you damn Jawas deal in is aftermarket, modified junk, selling it to
Modified-
moisture evaporators with no better knowledge than to say, oh, this one
How
looks good.
else? How else are they gonna farm that moisture on the South Ridge? How else, sir? By exploiting their nephew for another 2 or 3 seasons?
No,
Yeah,
blood-
that's what you said. That's what you said when Biggs and Tank left. That's what you said.
Blood, sweat, and tears of the farmers of moisture. Don't you know what's going on in the Midwest, you bastard?
Oh boy, what a mess.
Whew. Oh my gosh, yes. So, what I'll say in closing is that droids, the inception of droids, were to solve a problem.
Right.
The only problem that they couldn't solve was the backhanded, conniving, situationally exceptional profiteering Jawas. If only we could have solved that problem, the droids would have been perfect.
Okay, so I want both of our listeners to rewind that 25 seconds and listen to that again, because that is an admission that Jawas are superior and they bested the droids in every interaction.
How so?
Because you said that's a problem that they can't overcome.
No, that we weren't programmed to, because we are not genocidal miscreants who are just going to simply go around and take care of all these little vermin across the galaxy. No, we're meant for the betterment of everyone, whereas the Jawas take the betterment from everyone and resell them at a profit.
Just because they have an addiction to giant eggs does not make them bad creatures.
No, there's many more reasons why they're bad creatures.
Exactly. However, they're also winners. They're opportunistic, and they found a way to exploit those around them for personal gain. And they did.
Wow, I'm so happy for them. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the final battle between the Jawas and the droids.
Has the Empire seized your moisture farm? Has the Empire reprogrammed your droids without your knowledge? Has the Empire taken your speeder?
Well, you're in luck. I'm Mondo Onaka of Onaka and Melch, attorneys at law. We'll get what you deserve from the Empire. And you'll get something too.
And we're back. Thank you to our sponsors. Yeah, so before the commercial break, we laid out what we thought each species, or in this case, the droid versus the Jawas, had to offer as we talk about their virtues, what they brought to the galaxy.
I mean, you
how
talked
they...
about their virtues. I don't see how their virtues fit into any of this in a head-to-head.
You're right, because the Jawas have none.
But that doesn't fit into this in a head-to-head.
Well,
but keep talking about keep taking the moral high ground and trying to speak ill of these creatures. They're trying to provide for their little Jawalets and
Jawalets. My gosh, if the Jawa parents are like 3'2", what are the kids, like handkerchiefs or whatever? Like what are they?
Yeah, and actually, it's interesting about their robes. They first get robes at a certain point, a certain age, and then like they keep the same robes as they grow. So like all the seams that you see in their robes are from when they've grown and added more.
That is awesome. That is so cool. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly they're a little bit more, tolerable, I guess. That's kind of fun.
Yeah, they're resourceful. Speaking of resources, got a lot of metal ones in their sandcrawler there that they're sprucing up, that they're shining and polishing and reprogramming and limiting through external hardware.
Right.
And getting ready to make civilians' lives better with the opportunity to purchase said
Oh yeah, yeah. The Skywalker Ranch there, that R5D4 was a fantastic purchase.
You know what? Yeah, it's like if you went to a used car lot and you're like, I want to buy that jalopy. They didn't force you to buy the jalopy. You picked it yourself.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, let's compare the Jawa to
Oh,
a used
for
car
sure.
dealership. That's
Oh,
awesome.
for sure.
That's great. That's a wonderful comparison. You win. I throw in the towel. That was a killer blow.
Listen, all I'm saying is Skywalkers weren't forced to pick R5D4. In fact, C-3PO was like, yo, what about that blue one? And they were like, nah, we'll take the red one. Come on, Red. And Red was like, I don't think so.
Luke had no idea what the Force was.
That's right, he didn't. Wait,
but
what?
R5D4 did, apparently.
Maybe, from a certain point of view. All right, so
all right, now it's the head-to-head.
So I select any off-world Jawa, okay?
Now I'm scared. Okay.
With an ion cannon and a good hiding spot and a heaping hood full of patience against anything you got to offer.
Really? Anything?
Well, anything inorganic. I mean, you bring Obi-Wan into this, it's like, forget it.
Well, no, I'm not bringing a Jedi. I got to bring in a droid.
Yeah. And not a Jedi droid like Professor Hu Yang.
Well,
wait, you can't use Professor Hu Yang.
No, because he's going to be obsessing over the parts and pieces for 16 hours before. Oh, I must use the right process. Oh, that's not going to fit. I must use the restrictor bolt got him. No. That's way too out there.
Okay.
No, I've got something more, much more appropriate for what we're talking about here. Yeah, we're going to go with HK-47.
Okay.
Which is an assassin droid.
Right. Correct.
Which...
I mean, you didn't even go with an IG unit? Okay. All right. Up to you.
Well, I think that the history with the IG units with the Jawas is a little bit spotty.
Yeah, all you got to do is unscrew their head and sell it to the cantina and they'll start pouring drinks from it.
Point taken, which is why I didn't go with the IG droids.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with the HK-47s, which are the quintessential assassin droid, which has way more patience than a Jawa, and would have predicted where this said Jawa would have been lying in wait for what hours it thinks to be surprising the droid and slapping it with like a little ion blaster and its restrictor bolt. Don't think so.
No, you don't think so?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
All right. So you're going to pick up its heat signature despite its robes that deflect heat in the Tatooine sun. And you're going to pick up a heat signature or something? How are you going to find this Jawa with this droid?
Okay. So the Jawa robe may prevent twin suns in this case. Let's be specific about this. Heat signatures. However, it can't prevent infrared droid technology from their little layered, fancy little story about, when they're small, it gets layered from top to bottom. Oh, it's so cute. As if it's some sort of magical technology that prevents them from...
It might be. It's in space, you don't...
Oh, it might be, but it's not. Come on now. The HK-47s are supreme assassin droids. So, yeah, what's your next defense against it?
An ion cannon, obviously.
Well, when it's pointed the wrong direction because the Jawa doesn't know where the HK-47 is coming from.
That's
what's
why
next?
He's in the corner. He's got a view of all the exits. Is this your first time?
So when the HK-47 is behind him on the high ground and he's got his reticule on this poor little pointy brown potato sacked, sad, sorry little creature's head, 15 feet below him, what's he going to do?
15 feet is only 5 meters, which is well within range.
Of what? Not the Jawa. That's like 15.
Yeah.
It's like 15 feet of
range. His size doesn't matter as much as the efficacy of his weapon.
But when it's trained in the wrong direction, that's probably
that's where you're wrong, because what's he gonna do? Blast the cavern walls and drop them on the Jawa? There's no way. Because if he's on top, he's going down into the rubble. It's a bad move, droid.
Of course, he's not going to do that. He's just going to simply take the headshot and take out the little Jawa who thinks the droid is in front of him.
He's going to peek out from behind a rock and be pink mist.
Exactly. Oh! He's just going to simply take that shot from the high ground and just, render the head of the Jawa into like a fine tuft of furry, fuzzy hairs flying in the air. As
when you have the dandelion and you
yes,
you blow it.
As the much smaller brown robe, as compared to Obi-Wan, sort of falls to the ground with nothingness,
with the Force theme playing softly. Oh,
yes.
Okay, so you're gonna win by implementing like ruthlessness and malcontent.
Yeah, because that's what these episodes are about.
But that's like the whole basis of the Jawa species.
Except you don't win.
But yes. Except you don't win.
And you hate it. All I can say is that there are way too many droid variants to be able to even remotely take.
Well, you see, that's my point. Is they've captured all kinds of droids, as you can see in the belly of their sandcrawlers. So
yes,
they know what it's going to take care of all these different droids. So they're prepared. They got different settings on their blaster cannons. They got all the come on. They know what they're dealing with. This ain't their first rodeo.
No. They've got dozens and dozens of examples of opportunistic droid takedowns. Right. Except there are millions of droids, in which case they would be taken down eventually.
I don't know. It's if all the droids teamed up on them in some sort of Order 66 fashion, which I'm skeptical. So, ultimately, we're talking around in circles on this one.
No. Well, unless your circle means that the circle is full of droids, and in the center of that circle is a Jawa, because I can go from Order 88 all the way to Order 47, and they'd take them out left and right.
But you see, that's your mistake. You're assuming the Jawas travel single file. They don't. They travel in packs. Jawas are like a little furry gang. Okay, they're like the Lollipop Guild of Star Wars. So let me tell you something. So you think it's like a velociraptor. Okay, you got all your droids circling around this one, and that's the decoy. Because then you got all the other Jawas around there that are coming from the sides. That's where they get you, from the sides.
Problem is the ones on the side are pickpocketing their friend because they got that sweet communicator that the other guy wants.
That's right. Once they get their hands on that. They're pickpocketing. They're turning against each other. Jawas have a herd mentality.
They do. They're in their sandcrawler, all together, huddled in the safe space.
While that's right. Looking at shiny things.
And their ill-begotten gains.
You got that right.
Oh my gosh. Whew.
I don't know, man. I still think that the Jawas have the smarts and the wherewithal to know how to take down droids, man.
They spent 10 minutes opening a egg that they got in exchange for something and yelled, "Sugar!" and basically shoved their hands and face in an Easter cream egg. You're trying to tell me that they're going to outsmart droids?
I have seen you eat a Yoder's pie, okay? How dare you, sir? How dare you criticize the way...
good.
Yeah, How dare you criticize them on their dessert eating tactics?
And I'm about as furry as they are, so there's not much I can say about
Your eyes are more beady, though.
But they're not a warning color.
I mean, maybe.
No.
It could be.
Yeah. Shit brown. Yeah, that's kind of
Warning
warning
to the
color.
opposite sex.
Hey, I have 2 kids. I was successful twice.
Twice. Oh boy. You know who else was successful? The Jawas.
Well, not in this episode. They were successful, but ultimately not the winners.
I don't know. And name one example where a droid has bested a Jawa.
The HK-47 taking out the hiding Jawa with patience behind the rock.
That's in your own mind. That didn't even happen.
Well, I'm pretty certain that an HK-47 can outsmart a Jawa, one Jawa with an ion blaster and a restrictor bolt, hoping that the droid just sort of like yeah, that ain't happening with an HK-47.
Okay, so so so
you keep saying that.
Because I'm in disbelief. I don't believe that just because an HK-47 is programmed to seek and destroy, that it has any inherent leg up on a hunter take you by surprise Jawa.
Well, first of all, it's like 15 legs up.
15 legs up. I don't know. I feel like,
look, a Jawa is a scavenger. An HK-47 is an assigned assassin droid. They are going to find...
But with a restraining bolt on, then what?
The Jawa has no time to pull the trigger on the restraining bolt. Look, all I'm saying is that the sole purpose of the HK-47 is an assassin droid. Therefore,
continue.
They would have every tactic and every possible scenario that a low-life on-worlder Jawa or off-worlder, doesn't matter, throw them in together, would think that they have the advantage, turn it around on them, and destroy them before they even had a chance to think about what tactic they made a mistake on.
Yeah, but don't you think that the thoughts of the reward that they would get for selling an HK droid would motivate them to do their research and know how to best this droid for personal gain?
Oh, sure, but they never did capture one because they were dead before it happened. And talk about, what would it be? What would the celebration be? Utini! Talk about sullying the composer Francesco Utini's name, those little rat bastards.
Sullying Francesco Utini's name. Oh, man. That's true. They did do him a dishonor.
They did. The classic composer, forever sullied by a bunch of cloak-ridden, hairy basteroids.
Wow. There's like a lot of malcontent here.
Well, of course. I'm
against them. Perfect versus episode. Oh boy. So I feel like there's insufficient data to really determine a cut and dry winner here.
Well, when the loser sees that, of course, I'd agree with that. But
I watched the movies.
You did? Okay.
And when did you? Did you?
Not all of them. The Clone Wars is fuzzy.
Not all of them. Well, in the first one, the original Star Wars, okay, they win. They beat not only R2, but then they got C-3PO, and they had a whole section of droids in the belly of that sandcrawler. So I feel like that's a bunch of wins.
Okay, I'll concede
and
that
no losses
as a plot advancing character.
Okay, so they are only effective because it furthers the plot.
Well, look, call it what it is.
What exactly is it?
They are opportunistic effective
Ne'er-do-wells.
plot devices. Well, there and ne'er-do-wells. Thank you very much. Now, is every character in Star Wars a ne'er-do-well? No, but they certainly are part of the Star Wars and Skywalker saga for sure. But I think that when you get down to the minutia of it, the droids, and for example, the one that I chose tonight, the HK-47, is far superior to the Jawas' inborn techniques of being a scavenger, would certainly not best an HK-47 droid.
Well, I guess all that can be said is agree to disagree.
Wow. Are we having a stalemate? It's been pretty clear so far.
I would say the same. I would say that all available evidence throughout all Star Wars does not point to any droid victories over Jawas, except in your little fever dream headcanon.
Not only droids, but also ships.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I mean, it's like, come on. It's a tough call. I think it's a tough call because I'm very staunchly in the camp of we've never seen any evidence of a droid victory over Jawa in the history of Star Wars, and you seem to be grossly misguided as to the idea that's a thing in Star Wars, and there's no available evidence to support that claim.
Well, I mean, aside from
Your fever dream
disgusting
headcanon.
creatures. No, they're disgusting creatures.
Wait. Them being disgusting creatures has no bearing on their efficacy.
Of course,
you're a disgusting creature, and you still churn out podcasts.
Wait, are we actually arguing?
I don't fucking know.
Shout out to Nick Frost.
Okay, so I believe we are at a true stalemate, but since you so expertly weaved in Simon and Nick's R2 and C-3PO, I mean, I don't have a choice. It was brilliant, and I guess that is really the only gasoline in your tank to push you over the top for a win.
Ding ding!
So I will concede
Droids
win. Ding ding! Droids win. I would concede that based on your brilliant inclusion of Simon and Nick.
Whew. That last note really saved me.
It's the only thing it did. Everything else was speculation, pure speculation.
Speculation. Oh my god.
You know, it's not speculation.
What?
Finding us on social media.
Oh!
The very best place to find us is on our own website at ConverSWations.com, Facebook.com/ConverSWations, Twitter X, Twixer, Twixer.
Twitter? No.
Twitter.
That's for Evan.
Yes, at Swations on the X's. Instagram at ConverSWations, Threads at ConverSWations. Our Etsy shop is CommerceSWations. Still without that Target practice shirt, but that's fine. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
If you forgot your pen and paper or your data pad's just out of juice, we are at link.tree/ConverSWations. And speaking of link trees and networks and all of that fun stuff, I think Ro and Brad still include us as proud founding members of the Red 5 Podcast Network at bio.link/Red5.
Ro, yes. Brad?
Meh. Oh boy. I guess that's that. And Utini to you, sir.
Beep, boop, beep, beep. Woot.
Boot.
Greetings, listener. Just a reminder that the podcast you just heard is a proud member of the Red 5 Network family. Red5Network.com offers you a great variety of shows you'll be sure to love. So the next time you're itching for quality content, make sure you head over to Red5Network.com. You'll find this podcast along with a whole lot more. All wings report in. It's the Red 5 Network.